Michael, hurry up. You're going to be late again, shouted Jenny, rushing around the kitchen. Her 12-year-old son slowly dragged himself to the table, eyes half closed. I'm not hungry, Mom, Michael mumbled, pushing away the hastily prepared toast. Just take it with you and eat it on the bus, Jenny replied, already checking her work emails on her phone. That afternoon, Jenny and her husband, Tom, received an unexpected call from Michael's teacher, Mr. Wilson. I'm worried about Michael, Mr. Wilson began. His grades have been dropping, and he often falls asleep in class. Could we schedule a meeting? The next day, Jenny and Tom sat in Mr. Wilson's classroom after school. He had been teaching for 20 years and had a gentle, understanding smile. Let's talk about Michael's daily routine, Mr. Wilson suggested. What time does he usually go to bed? Tom shifted uncomfortably. Well, he's usually still doing homework or playing games until 11 or later. Mr. Wilson nodded thoughtfully. I've identified 6 common habits that often affect children's learning abilities. May I share them with you? Both parents leaned forward, eager to listen. First, Mr. Wilson began, let's talk about breakfast. Did you know that children who eat a proper breakfast show 40% better concentration? Jenny looked guilty. We're always in such a rush. I understand, Mr. Wilson said with a smile. Many parents face the same challenge. But a good breakfast is like fuel for a car. Without it, the engine won't run properly. He continued, the second issue is irregular sleep patterns. When Michael stays up late, he doesn't get enough sleep, which makes him feel tired and lowers his memory, so he naturally loses interest in studying. But he has so much homework. Tom protested. Which brings me to the third point, Mr. Wilson replied. Study environment. Where does Michael usually do his homework? In the living room, Jenny answered. The TV is usually on, and we're all using our phones. Exactly, Mr. Wilson nodded. Imagine trying to solve a puzzle while someone's playing loud music. That's what it's like for Michael. Tom remembered something. Yesterday, I got frustrated and yelled at him for getting a low math score. That's the fourth habit we need to discuss, Mr. Wilson said gently. Harsh criticism actually slows down a child's thinking process. Harvard researchers found that children who are frequently yelled at tend to think more slowly and have poorer memory, which impairs their cognitive abilities. Last week, Jenny added quietly, Michael was upset about losing a game, and I told him to stop crying and get over it. That's the fifth habit, suppressing emotions, Mr. Wilson explained. Children need to express their feelings freely. Forcing them to bottle up emotions can have serious consequences, including emotional distress, behavioral problems, relationship difficulties, physical health issues, and even impair their ability to think clearly. And the sixth habit? Tom asked. Negative suggestions, Mr. Wilson replied. When we constantly point out failures instead of encouraging efforts, we damage their self-esteem and, consequently, their ability to learn. Jenny and Tom sat quietly, taking it all in. Finally, Jenny spoke. What can we do to help Michael? Mr. Wilson smiled warmly and outlined a plan. Wake up 30 minutes earlier to prepare a proper breakfast. Set a consistent 9:30 p.m. bedtime. Create a quiet study space in Michael's room. Practice positive communication. Allow emotional expression. Focus on progress rather than perfection. 3 months later, Jenny and Tom returned to meet with Mr. Wilson. The change in Michael is remarkable, Mr. Wilson beamed. His grades are improving, and he's much more engaged in class. Jenny smiled proudly. We've all been learning together. It wasn't easy changing our habits, but seeing Michael thrive makes it worth it. Remember, Mr. Wilson concluded, being a parent is like being a gardener. We need to provide the right environment and care for our children to grow and flourish. As Jenny and Tom left the school that day, they realized that helping their child succeed wasn't about pushing harder. It was about creating the right environment and habits for growth. Sometimes, the smartest thing parents can do is learn to change themselves first. 单字 identify 确定发现 verb to recognize a problem, need, fact, etc., and to show that it exists. Bottle something up. 抑制、掩饰、不快或担忧。Phrasal verb. When a person bottles things up, they refuse to talk about things that make them angry or worried. Flourish. 茁壮成长。Verb. To grow or develop successfully.